My name is Meredith Wilson. I'm 47 years old, and for the past 15 years, I've poured my heart and soul into building my dream, Sweet Dreams Bakery. What started as a small weekend booth at the farmer's market grew into a warm, cheerful shop in the heart of Minneapolis. I baked with love, every cupcake carrying a piece of my grandmother's legacy. I believed I was living a good life, a loving husband, a daughter in college, and a business that made people smile. But all of that shattered in one terrible moment. One afternoon, I was heading to the back office of my shop when I heard voices through the slightly open door. I wasn't trying to eavesdrop. I had just come to grab some receipts, but what I heard froze me in place. "She's too stupid to realize what's going on," my husband James said. His voice was cold, sharp, one I barely recognized. "Meredith's great at baking, but business? Please." She signed the loan papers without even reading them. Then I heard a chuckle. It was Thomas, James's brother. "This is going to be easier than we thought," Thomas said. "Give it another month, we'll own the whole place. When it collapses, no one's going to blame us." James laughed too. "She still thinks I love her. After 20 years, she won't see it coming. It's almost too easy." I stood there, unable to move. My heart pounded so loud I thought they might hear it. I slowly stepped back, careful not to make a sound. I felt like the air had been knocked out of me. I slipped out the back door of the shop and leaned against the brick wall in the alley, trying to breathe. My stomach turned, my hands shook, my world had just cracked open. How had I missed it? The late-night meetings with Thomas, the way James had started talking down to me like I was a child, the way he brushed off my questions about the business. He kept telling me, "You just focus on baking, I'll handle the paperwork," and I believed him. I trusted him. Now, I wasn't sure I even knew him. I walked slowly around to the front of the shop. Across the street, I saw a shiny, expensive car, Thomas's new toy. I wondered how many of my cupcakes had paid for it. That's when a darker thought hit me. What if this wasn't just betrayal? What if I was standing on the edge of losing everything? Sweet Dreams wasn't just a bakery, it was my life. It started small, selling cookies and cupcakes at markets to help pay for our daughter Veronica's braces. James had been so supportive back then. I remember him saying, "These are the best cupcakes in the state. Mare, you've got something special." He'd help me load the car every Saturday morning with coolers and folding tables. When we found an affordable storefront, James pushed me to go for it. We used our savings, my grandmother's small inheritance, and a modest loan to open the bakery. I remember framing the first dollar I ever earned. It's still hanging behind the counter. For years, the business chugged along steadily. Then one autumn, a local magazine wrote about my pumpkin maple cupcakes, and everything changed. We had lines out the door. I hired help, expanded, and that's when James offered to step in and manage the money. "You do what you love, Mare," he told me. "I'll take care of the numbers." At the time, it felt like a blessing, but looking back now, it feels like the moment I handed over the keys to my life. 3 months ago, James gave me some refinancing papers to sign. He said it was routine. When I asked what it was for, he waved it off. "Just paperwork, Mare, we've got to act fast to lock in the rate." I was busy, stressed, and I trusted him. I signed them without reading the fine print. Around that same time, Thomas started showing up more often. He and James would go out for drinks, whispering to each other and going quiet whenever I came near. I noticed strange charges on the business card, but I assumed they were for the holidays. Even Veronica had raised a red flag. Dad asked me questions about business ownership and asset transfers. She told me during our last phone call, "Is he thinking of starting something new?" I laughed it off at the time, thinking James was just being curious. Now her words haunted me. A week after hearing that awful conversation, I took action. I told James the first was taking a personal day. Instead, I drove across town to see Beverly, our longtime accountant. James had recently said we should switch accountants, but I wanted her opinion first. "I'm so glad you came, Meredith," Beverly said as she sat me down. "I've been trying to get in touch with you directly." My stomach tightened. "Is something wrong?" She turned her screen toward me and nodded. "Yes, there are some serious problems. There have been large withdrawals from your business account, transfers to an LLC that doesn't match your records, and this loan," she pointed to a document, "puts your bakery as collateral for an amount way above its actual value." I stared at the screen in disbelief. Thousands, no, hundreds of thousands, gone. My bakery was in debt deeper than I had ever imagined. Who else has access to these accounts? Beverly asked quietly. Just me and James, I said softly. Her face told me everything. She showed me more paperwork, more signs that this wasn't a one-time thing. James had been moving money for years, slowly, quietly, methodically, and now he was ready to finish what he started. Beverly handed me a card. You need to talk to this man, Gregory Palmer. He's a financial investigator and attorney. Call him today. I clutched that card like a lifeline. On the drive home, the shock faded and a new feeling took its place, fury. Cold, focused, determined fury. When I got home, James was there waiting for me. He smiled as if everything was normal. I've been thinking, he said smoothly, maybe it's time to sell the bakery. You work too hard. We could take the money and finally relax. I forced myself to smile. That's an interesting idea. Let me think about it. He looked so relieved. He actually thought I was going along with it, that I was as blind and naive as he'd always believed. That night, I lay beside him in bed, wide awake. While he slept peacefully, I stared at the ceiling, thinking about everything I'd built, the people who counted on me, the recipes passed down through generations, my grandmother's dream, which I brought to life with flour and sugar and love. He thought I wouldn't fight back. But he was wrong. This wasn't over, not by a long shot. Because now I knew the truth, and I was going to save my bakery, and myself. This was war. And James had no idea who he was messing with. A few days after everything started unraveling, I got a call from my daughter, Veronica. She was away at college, trying to focus on exams, but her voice was tense. Mom, she said, Dad called me. He said he's sending over some paperwork for me to sign, something about protecting the family business and needing my signature since I'm a beneficiary. My heart started pounding. I gripped the phone tighter. What did you say to him? She hesitated. I told him I'd look at it first, but I'm not signing anything. Mom, I don't get it. What's going on? I felt tears prick the corners of my eyes, tears of relief that she hadn't signed anything yet. Good, don't sign it. Don't even open the package if it shows up. I promise I'll explain everything soon. She was quiet for a moment, then said softly, Mom, you sound scared. I didn't want to worry her, but I needed her to understand this was serious. Your father and Uncle Thomas, they're trying to take the bakery from me. It's complicated, but I'm handling it. I'm coming home, she said right away, her voice firm. No, I replied gently but firmly. Stay there, focus on your classes. I've got people helping me. I'll be okay. After we hung up, I just sat in my office at the bakery. I looked around at everything, the customer photos pinned to the wall, the framed magazine reviews, the first dollar I ever made, and the business license with my name on it. This place was my life's work, and now they were trying to steal it, even dragging my daughter into it. That was the last straw. I picked up the phone and called Lynette, a real estate agent I trusted, one who specialized in commercial properties. Lynette, I said, I need to ask something serious. If I wanted to sell my bakery, how fast could that happen, and what could it be worth? Her answer surprised me. She said the bakery's location and reputation could make it a hot property, maybe even double what I'd imagined, and if the right buyer came along, a deal could close in just a few weeks. That's when something clicked in my mind. What if I didn't just fight them? What if I beat them at their own game? What if I sold the bakery, on my terms, before they could touch it, not because I had to, but because I chose to someone who would care for it the way I did? I called Gregory, my lawyer, and shared the idea. It's a bold move, he said, but risky. If James or Thomas finds out what you're doing, they could try to block the sale, but if you pull it off, you keep the money, not them, and with everything we've uncovered so far, we can make sure they don't get a dime. The next day, Diana, my private investigator, called with an update, and it made my blood run cold. Meredith, she said, it turns out James isn't just trying to steal the bakery, he's also being blackmailed by Thomas. What? I asked, stunned. Thomas has recordings, proof that James has been embezzling money from his insurance clients for years. He's using that as leverage to force James to go through with the plan. Your husband is scared. He's being used, too. The betrayal was deeper than I thought. James wasn't just a liar and a thief, he was also a coward, a man being controlled by his own brother. The two of them deserved each other. That evening, I went for a drive. I needed space to think. I ended up at a quiet overlook just outside the city. I sat there for over an hour, watching the city lights flicker below. I thought about everything I had built, 15 years of flour, sugar, and heart. Sweet Dreams wasn't just a business, it was my life. Could I really walk away? Then I realized something. I wasn't walking away from what I'd built, I was protecting it. I was taking back control. The next morning, I called Lynette again. I'm ready to sell, I told her, but it has to be private, no leaks, no mistakes. I understand, she said. I might already have someone in mind, Helen Bryant from Heavenly Bites. She's been looking to expand. Helen was my biggest competitor, but unlike James and Thomas, she had integrity. Her bakeries were known for treating staff well and making quality food. I could live with her carrying on what I started. By that weekend, Helen and I were sitting in Gregory's office. I'll offer market value, plus a little extra to close fast, Helen said, and if I keep using your signature recipes, you'll earn royalties. I was stunned. You do that? I admire what you've built, Meredith, she said warmly. I'd be honored to continue your legacy. We shook hands. Gregory started drafting the paperwork. Everything needed to move quickly. The health inspector's phony report, arranged by James and Thomas, was expected soon, and their plan to force a loan default was nearing its deadline. Meanwhile, Diana had planted surveillance devices at the bakery, completely legal, and it paid off. We caught James and Thomas on tape, discussing everything. Once the health department shuts it down, she'll panic, James said in the recording. She won't even see the loan terms until it's too late. I couldn't believe how cruel he sounded, how cold. After 15 years of marriage, he saw me as an obstacle to be removed. Just as the sale was nearing the finish line, we hit a snag. The bank holding the shady loan called me directly. Ms. Wilson, we've noticed suspicious activity on your accounts, the rep said. Large, unexplained transfers. James had tried to move more money, probably getting desperate. Gregory pulled me aside. If the bank freezes the accounts for investigation, it'll delay the sale. We need to stall. So, I called James. The bank contacted me. I told him, pretending to be confused. They said something about strange transactions. He paused. It's nothing to worry about, just moving things around to improve our taxes. I'll take care of it. Should I call them back? No, he snapped, then softened. No, I mean, don't worry. I've got it under control. You just focus on baking. His arrogance only made me stronger. With Gregory's help, we gave the bank just enough information to calm them down, without revealing our plan. It worked. The account stayed open. Helen pushed up her financing, and the paperwork was almost done. Everything would be signed in 3 days, the same day James thought he'd win. The night before, I packed a small bag. I couldn't stay in the same house as him anymore. As I was leaving, James walked in. Going somewhere? He asked, raising an eyebrow. I need some space, I said calmly. I'm staying with Patricia for a bit. He nodded, probably thinking I was just upset and clueless. That's probably good. I've got some business to handle anyway. I smiled faintly. Yes, I believe we both do. The next morning, I got to Sweet Dreams early. I stood behind the counter, looking around one last time. The smell of fresh bread, the hum of the ovens, this was the place I had poured my soul into. Then everything started happening. Helen arrived first, along with her team and Gregory. Diana was nearby, ready with evidence. Then Thomas walked in, looking smug. Didn't expect you in so early, he said. I always show up early when something important is about to happen, I replied. James came next, with a lawyer at his side. When he saw Helen, his face dropped. What's she doing here? He demanded. She's buying the bakery, I said, today. Thomas laughed. You can't sell it, it's not legally yours. Actually, Gregory cut in, it absolutely is, and we have the paperwork to prove it, along with audio recordings of your entire scheme. Diana stepped forward, holding up a flash drive. We've got every word. James tried to lunge at her, but security guards stepped in. Then, as if on cue, the crooked health inspector walked in. He saw the crowd, turned pale, and immediately left without saying a word. You've lost, I said, looking straight at James. The bakery is sold, the money is protected, and just so you know, I filed for divorce.